You're listening to the Patient Advocacy Now podcast, presented by Greater National Advocates.
It's just gut-wrenching sometimes. Like, if it's sad and they're crying, I might cry.
Amazing how many doctors do not even want to treat somebody who has Medicaid.
Medical system is about making money.
And I said, so are you hiring more nurses, or you're just telling each nurse to work harder?
Barbara Gaynor, thank you so much for being on the Patient Advocacy Now podcast. You have a unique kind of lens that you can view the medical world through, because in addition to being 25 years in the field as a registered nurse, you're also an LNC.
Correct. That is
right?
correct.
So, for someone like me who's been involved in advocacy tangentially, I'm not an advocate, but, through meeting everybody, this is a new term for me, and it kind of fascinated me that it didn't come up more often. So first of all, what is an LNC, and what do you view your role as?
Okay, well, thanks for having me on your podcast. So an LNC is the acronym for Legal Nurse Consultant. So nurses who are not at bedside or who are still at bedside have chosen to use their skills and experience to be experts in reviewing medical records for plaintiff or defense attorneys and review it for merit or not, as find out where the deviations are, what should or should not have been done. Has anybody done something under the, that doesn't go with the scope of practice? We can speak to what nurses can do. We can't really delve into what doctors can do, or should have done, but we can make the recommendations to the attorneys that they should have, say a radiologist, an expert reading certain films should be one to be contacted. And we can do personal malpractice, toxic tort, we can do industrial. I was just at a conference the other day for LNCs. We had our forum and found out that there are LNCs that are working, doing medical records where they are reenacting like an accident. So they're working with a company that reenacts. And so based on what the nurses are reviewing, that information is also used, and it can tell if it was or was not, for merit or so. So that was really, really something. Yeah. So yeah, it was good. So that's what we do.
And are you, as an LNC, are you hired by the attorneys?
Yes, as an LNC, we are hired by attorneys or insurance companies. Some of us work in-house, so meaning that we work in the office for an attorney, and some of us, like myself, are independent.
That's so interesting. And so it seems like there's a lot of kind of crossover or overlap between an LNC and an independent patient advocate, in that you're making sure the patient, one is, hired by the attorney, one is hired by the patient, but, you're really looking out for safety, you're looking out for patient rights. What you do with the information is different, but there is a lot of overlap. Am I kind of understanding
You are correct in a sense. So for me, when I am talking to attorneys, especially those who are in elder law and even estate planning, what I tell them is, if you are a guardian of a client, or if you know of a client that could benefit, or if you have family who wants to deem an elder person incompetent, I can review those medical records. I can go to facilities and see what is happening. So I give this speech as to, say, for instance, you get a call from the nursing home that says your client fell out of bed. Well, you're expecting the facility to, update you on what's happening. When you get those kind of calls, you call me. If I can go in person, then that's even better. I can go as an advocate, and you're getting 3 in 1. You're getting a nurse, which is a registered nurse, you're getting an LNC, and you're getting an advocate. So I'm looking at it from all points of what's really happening. So if the client fell, I want to know why and how and when. So these are the information. This is the information that the attorney is going to need, and the family is going to want to need that if they want to pursue a lawsuit or not. Also, going through with, say, an attorney who is just wanting someone to review records for a client to make sure that they are what they say they're having, their, like a disability. Is that something that is meritorious or not, regarding of if there was an accident or so. So a lot of things. So my skills are numerous.
They kind of dip into a lot of different pies. And I like that idea is because you're a nurse and when you show up, it's not like you leave your nurse hat at home. If the patient needs something, you're there as a nurse as
Exactly.
well. It's, you can't
No,
abandon that part of
you
your
never, once a
character
nurse,
yourself.
always a nurse.
Well
Yes.
said. Well said. Well, if what would you say to an LNC interested in becoming an independent advocate? Do you feel like that's a good feather to put in your cap as well?
I've been trying to recruit.
Okay, I'm preaching to the choir then. Okay.
Because there are a lot. I have been contacted by a lot of LNCs who find patient advocacy intriguing, and I tell them it's nursing 101. We've been taught to advocate for our clients or our patients, at bedside or so. So it's taking that skill set and marrying it with your LNC work. The two overlap in some areas, but you can always, use that. So, say for instance, you get a medical record to review, and then everything goes well. And so the attorney says, well, this person really does not have family and they really need somebody there. You can take off your LNC hat and say, well, here, you don't have to go looking for somebody else. I'm right here. I can advocate
Yeah.
for this person if they go to the doctors or the hospital, or if they just need some care management with their medical records, their medications, or even just making sure that where they're living, they are getting the care that they definitely need, or putting services in place and managing all of that. So it works out.
Yeah, and you seem like you would also develop a nice bond with the family as a single point
Correct.
of contact that can kind of be a liaison for a lot of different areas that their loved one might be going
Exactly.
through.
The unique thing with me, though, is that some of the nurses are specializing in an area: ICU, OR. Once a nurse, always a nurse. With me, I chose to do a variation of areas. So I've worked all areas except OR, peds, mother, baby and delivery, and I think orthopedics. But I purposely used the European and West Indian model for nursing because nurses there rotate every 6 months in different areas. And so that gives you a wider or a broader prospect of what's really happening. So I can appreciate what's going on in the doctor's office because I've worked in a doctor's office. I know the mechanics of what's going on. I know what's happening when you are in the hospital. I can understand that. If you're in a nursing home or assisted living or independent living, I've worked in those areas. So I know the backstory of what is really happening. It hasn't really changed. The rules and regulations, yes, but the basis, the foundation hasn't changed. I've worked in insurance, so I understand how that goes. And I've worked hospice, so I know about end of life, and I know the arguments that families can have and those relatives that come in at the end of the day when, things are, going dire, and then they try to upheave the apple cart. So I'm able to mediate
Yeah.
that, bring that down, and say, look, this is not about you. This is about the person right here in the bed. Let's focus on that. Yeah.
Is that the best advice? Because I've noticed as I'm getting older and I'm seeing my friends with their own parents, and when you haven't dealt with the end
Mm-hmm.
of life stage, it's amazing how shocked people get at their brothers or sisters or cousins acting so differently than they're expected to act, and the
Mm-hmm.
fights that break out and the relationships that break. And so is the advice that you would offer them to focus on the
Exactly.
individual who's in
First
the
of all, I
hospice?
would say, okay, guys, who is the POA? Who has healthcare medical power of attorney? Well, mom, but mom has, she can't handle it, so she's passed it over to me, who is also on the POA. Okay, fine. Everybody else is noise. What was
Yeah.
it that your loved one said to you? What was it that they wanted? Did they want everything done? Or did they want to just live their life for the life that they have comfortably and at peace? Well, that's what we're going to do. So
I love that you said that everybody else
everybody
is
else is
just
just
noise.
noise. Everybody else is just noise.
It reinforces hold the boundary. Hold
Exactly.
the
Hold the
boundary.
boundaries of what's
Yeah.
really going on. There are cases, and I'm advocating for this really, really hard, to have those conversations about advanced directives, because it changes the trajectory and it makes life so much easier. You find a lot of people that talk about, well, I'll have my kids make that decision. No, no, that is the easy scapegoat way out. No, allow them to be your children. Allow your wife to be your wife, because you've already put in place what's happening. You have insurance for your car. You have insurance for your house. Why wouldn't you have an advance directive to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that nobody has to fuss or fight? That's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things
Yeah.
that I am really, really passionate about talking to people about. And another thing that I'm passionate about is telling the children the truth about their medical history. Because for me, just 3 years ago, I found out I was adopted. I didn't know. And
No
I
kidding.
grew
Three
up
years
as
ago?
an only child, only to find out now that I have brothers and sisters. Am I happy about it? I
That's
am ecstatic
fascinating.
about it. But all the parties involved are now, sipping champagne in heaven, and I'm here. But the reason I'm so passionate about that is because the healthcare that I grew up, the healthcare history that I grew up with, is null and void. And so when I became
Yeah.
sick, about a year or two ago, I had to rely on my new family to tell me what my father and my mother had as far as their health, so that then I could put the pieces together and say, okay, this is where this thing took root and grew legs. So um, children who are being adopted, parents who want to adopt children, please, 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 it is so vitally important to get the absolute knowledge of what their true health history is. Because if something happens and you go to the doctor or the hospital and you say, well, our family doesn't have that, well, they're not biologically yours. So,
Right.
what does their family, their biological parents have? So that's history that they need to know. Yeah.
Other than adoption, how, are there other instances where not knowing the medical history it has come up, and
Yeah,
in what
knowing the
cases?
history. Like, for instance, now I'm pushing for parents to get their medical binders together for their college children. They're going off to college. When they turn 18,
That's a great
when they
idea.
turn
Yeah, we need to talk
18,
about that more.
you can't say anything. You can't do anything. So have that conversation with them before they go. Tell them what mom's side of the family does, what father's side of the family. Put it in the medical binder so that in the event something
Mhm.
happens, at least they are knowledgeable. I'm talking to an attorney right now who has the ability. She's working with someone who can put that on digitally because, of course, this is a digital age. But at least
Yeah.
if you have the information in the binder along with their advanced directives, so that something happens, at least they can talk to you know the providers, then that is also vitally important. So it's a lot that people don't
Great
know
advice.
out there. Yes.
I'm always reminded. I talked to someone at one point where they said, there's fight, flight, and freeze. And especially, it was a police officer who was telling me this. He's like, you'll notice that in times of crisis, freeze takes over a lot
Yes.
with
Yes.
victims because they don't
They don't
have
have a
those.
plan.
And that's what happens in these settings where, the doctor, you have 10
Mhm.
minutes, and the doctor says, do you have medical history, or what's, and you because you
You
don't
have
have the
no idea.
plan.
Then you pick up the phone, Mom, what do I have? I mean, my own kids do that to me,
Right.
Mom. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting together for your birthdays a history because you need this for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's great advice. Do you mind me asking how you found out 3 years ago that you were adopted?
Ah, ancestry.com.
Wow.
My family
Wow.
that I grew up with, we have family reunions. And so the last one we had pre-COVID, we just wanted to see how far our tentacles went out, if there was anybody out there that we didn't know anything about. And when I did mine,
Sure.
nobody in my family came up on mine. But, and I'm sure you hear
Wow.
my accent. I was born in England and I grew up in Jamaica. But the name that I saw, I'm like, I know that name. That name. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how
So
that was.
funny.
And then I worked one night and someone called me and asked me a whole bunch of questions. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And then they said, yep, you're the person we've been looking for. And I'm like, ah.
Wow. You're right. It shows you how important it is to have those
Yes,
conversations.
absolutely.
Getting back to advocacy a little bit, you're such a good storyteller. I heard slivers, just tiny slivers of a story of an advocacy case, because I talked to Greater National Advocates quite a bit, that you were very heavily involved with. The man was
Yes.
blind, and I don't want to. And again, partially because I don't want to give anything away, but also partially because I don't know the
Okay.
whole story. Would you mind kind of going over what happened
Okay.
and just kind of unfolding
So,
it for me?
backstory, this gentleman called me around November and asked me about my services, and I talked to them and they said, okay, fine, they'll get back with me. Well, I didn't hear anything until Brad from Greater National called me and said, hey, got this gentleman here who is in Cincinnati and would really need some help. So when I got the information, like, yeah, I spoke with this guy already. But anyway, yeah.
Wow.
So long story, his anxiety, he was blind, or I like to say visually impaired. He was functional. He was
Mm-hmm.
a young gentleman in his 40s or so. And he was going to have heart surgery, not like open heart, but he was going to have a procedure that was dealing with his heart. And his anxiety was that if he's in ICU, and somebody comes in and plops down a tray, they're not going to tell him, okay, sir, you have your tray here, your cup is at 1 o'clock, your plate is at noon, and all those areas, because that's how they manage. So I said, all right, let me find out about how the hospital handles it. So I called the hospital and they assured me, yes, they do things and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting in contact with a non-medical agency here in Cincinnati, and I got him 24-hour aid coverage for the period of time that he was in the ICU and then to the floor. And that worked out so very well because they were able to advocate for him there. So even though I wasn't physically there, I mean, I got there and made sure that he was, surgery was okay, spoke with the doctor. I was there with his mom and everything, and made sure that, staff was in place, called the very different area, different times of the day, just to make sure that somebody was there. And this agency was spot on. And so he was so relieved, his anxiety, because, if he dropped his phone, instead of having to press the buzzer, that person was right there to give him his phone. If he needed water, they were there to offer him the water. If he needed cleaning up, they were there to offer to help clean him up and that sort of thing. So that totally just depressed his anxiety. And he was so, so very grateful. And then when he was leaving the hospital, I told them that he's going to need home health. And they're like, but he doesn't. He's going to need home health. And he's going to need somebody to make sure that the wound that he has is taken care of. And so before he left the hospital, he was able to get home health. And I was able to meet with the home health when they first did their visit, so that they knew that even though he's visually impaired, blind, that he still has his mother and he has me there to advocate for him. So he was absolutely tickled pink that everything went quite well, because that was his total anxiety.
Wow. It seems, your role, if I could make an analogy, was kind of being quarterback. You were the one calling the plays, and because the truth is, without you intervening there, the key moment is you called the hospital and they kind of fed you the marketing playbook line of, we take care of all that. And with your 25 years, you're like,
don't.
No, you
And
don't.
it's so funny.
You were able to
It
call
is
the
so
audible.
funny, John, because think of a room, and so even this room here, the bed faced the door, and the notice board for who is working today and who was your nurse today, who was your doctor, and please note, patient is blind, is all the way on that board. Somebody coming in, food services coming in and putting down the tray, are they going to look at the board over there? I don't think so.
No. Not only that, but every room has a board and it becomes noise, right? You just, if you're delivering food, you never look at the board.
Yeah. So I was also able to talk with the nurse manager for the floor and say, look, I mean, these are things that you guys need to address. And she said, yeah, we really do. So I said, if you really want me to come down and talk to you guys, let me know. Here's my number. Here's everything. So I'm still waiting, but it may come.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it was a nice collaboration between you and GNA as well. Have you had experiences like that with Greater National Advocates before, or is that
one was a first one for me? That one was the first one. I just did one the other day, but that had a very sad outcome, unfortunately. But
Sorry to hear that.
GNA is doing great work, and I support them 1,000%.
Well, thank you for saying so. I agree. Obviously, I'm biased, but I agree as well. How do you feel about where advocacy is and where its position is in the medical landscape now? I mean, I know you've gone to summits, and do you see it growing? Do you see challenges that you'd like to see resolved? I'm kind of just interested in your opinion on the field.
The field in general is a new, old field. Basically, it's coming up, and you're noticing a lot of different people are trying to get into it. It's growing. Absolutely, it is growing. The bad thing is that because the word advocates are out there, the hospitals are using, well, we have a patient advocate and we have a patient navigator and this and that. And so clients tend to think, well, if they have one, then why do I need one? The difference is they stop at the door of the hospital. I go beyond the door and get you home and get you what community services you need and everything like that. So that's the difference there. So when I hear of patient advocate in the hospital, I go, okay, what is your role? And they say, well,
Right. Well, not only that, who's really paying your
exactly.
bill,
Who's really
right?
paying your bill? We
Yeah.
can't. I can't be paid by insurance or anything like that because I'd have to be, under that thumb. Me, I'm
Right.
independent. I'm free spirit. I can go where I want and make sure that my client is getting what they need, not what they want, but what the
Yeah.
services that they need. So yeah.
And if you have a grievance with the hospital, not that you always do, but it happens, then there's a natural
There
conflict of
is,
interest there.
absolutely. And my goal when I go to hospitals is, first of all, let's communicate, because I find as an advocate that communication is the key. It is the one component that families and patients, clients alike are frustrated about, because you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 providers coming in and out, each one saying something different and stuff. And you are just like, what is going on? So me coming in, first thing, let's talk to the case manager. Case manager, I want to be able to have a conference or a care conference so the family, the client, and the providers can all hear and know what the goal is for this person. And I found also that once I've done that, the tone changes and everybody is like soldiers. And everybody is,
Yeah.
oh, okay, fine. Yes, this really does work. Yeah, it does work. Duh.
There's natural there's a lot of natural leadership there, and I think, as a nurse, you're used to having to take charge and make
Having to
those
take charge,
decisions.
yes.
So that's
And so that's what I do. But I'm passionate about it, and I, just just make sure that what they're getting is necessary. So yeah, I love it. Yeah.
fantastic. Well, I know that you're in Cincinnati, but you probably also work remotely. I also, between everything you do, I don't even know if you have room in your schedule to see more people. But if they did want to reach out to you, do you have a website that you want to point people to, or is there a platform that you would prefer they can contact you through other
Ah,
than a website?
website, braddockconsultingadvocacy.com. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm also on LinkedIn and IG. What's that? Instagram. And
Instagram,
I
yeah.
put a lot of posts out and stuff, but they can always get me, or you can always call me, 513 You can find me in the directory at GNA and some other directories too.
Barbara Gaynor, thank you so much. It was eye-opening, and I appreciate personally the education about LNCs and sharing so much of your time and
You're
stories with us.
welcome. Pleasure. My pleasure to be here. Thank you.